Hi everyone, it's Denise Brown from the Caregiving Years Training Academy, and joining me today is Dannelle LeBlanc. Hi Dannelle.
Hi, Denise.
Dannelle is one of our certified caregiving consultants and educators, and she's also one of our trainers. So she trains students in our certified caregiving consultant training program. Dannelle and I have been spending a lot of time talking about what do we do about systemic racism during a personal caregiving experience. And our initial conversation actually started almost a year and a half ago. And Dannelle has been talking about it in presentations that she started with in April of 2019. She delivered a presentation at our regional conference in Wimberley, Texas. And then she presented again about it in November of 2019 at our 4th annual National Caregiving Conference. The conversation this year is different for you though, Dannelle. So when you presented in the past, it was really from a perspective of, here are the stats, here's what other people go through. But now you're talking about what you went through. So what's that like for you to really personalize an experience that is traumatic and hurtful and painful and put it out there in the public?
Well, Denise, it's definitely been a process. And the door was opened last year, over a year ago, actually, when you asked me the question about the impact of systemic racism as an African American and how it impacted my caregiving experience. And that was the first time I'd even thought of that question. Because as an African American, it's just a part of daily life. And so there was a lot of, and we've talked about this before in the panel that we did last week, where we compartmentalize so much of our experience, not only as family caregivers, but it's compounded by encountering racial bias and racism on a daily basis. And so this has really been a process because, you know, since 2000, it's been since 2017 as a former family caregiver, and the unpacking has been just an incredible experience of personal growth and recognition of how much stress I've been carrying and the impact emotionally, physically, and then in starting this conversation and talking to others and finding that they too have compartmentalized the impact of racism and racial bias within their caregiving experience. So it's a wonderful opportunity to look at the intersection between our experience as family caregivers and feeling unseen, feeling minimized, not feeling valued, not having the power, not being empowered in our roles, and the experience as an African American and where that comes together. So this has been a process of self-empowerment, and the opportunity to share that with others has been amazing.
So what I find fascinating about sharing a personal experience that's very private, when you put it
Yes.
out publicly, there is a risk. There is a
Yes.
tremendous risk. What I find though is if I remember that it's not about how people receive my message, it's about putting out my message in the world so I connect with others who have a similar message, that makes it a little easier. But it's hard to know that until you put it out there, that putting it out there is going to connect you to others with that similar experience, which is what happened for you. That when you started talking about it, so our panelists in our, I think it was June 19th panel discussion said the same thing. They really hadn't thought about it from that perspective. And I just want to mention, if you want to watch that archive, you can go to careyearsacademy.com/panel and watch that panel discussion. It's really fascinating. So what has changed about your voice now, Dannelle?
Well, I think it's a willingness to be vulnerable, and I think I'm finding courage that I did not have before because of the fear of, being misunderstood, or again, sharing something that's so painful and having someone say, oh, well, that happened a long time ago, or, you know, um, just minimizing the pain. And the connections with others who have had a similar experience as an African American family caregiver, as well as, because remember, Denise, at the regional conference in Wimberley, after I gave that presentation, which was centered around assumptions about our roles and relationships with our caree, there were people who came up to me and approached me and shared their story. And two of them were men, white men, and another was an LGBTQ person. So there's a resonance, and there's a shared experience that can be had through sharing our stories, that connects all of us as human beings.
So Dannelle is actually going to talk about finding her voice in our special event that's coming up the first week in August. It begins August 3rd, and it's a beginning again retreat, and it's for anyone whose caregiving experience has ended. And I asked Dannelle to do this special workshop on finding your voice because I think we make this assumption that we're going to find our voice soon after caregiving ends, and that if we don't, it's our fault. Somehow we missed something, we lost a puzzle piece, it's somehow our fault. But the reality is there's so much to process after caregiving ends, which is what you're really talking about, that it can take time to find your voice. And your workshop is really about to be patient. The voice will come. You'll figure out the words around your experience, and you'll find what motivates you to move forward. That's what's most important.
Yes, absolutely. And to have patience with yourself, to be kind to yourself. When we're in the middle of a caregiving experience, so much of our focus is about caring for our caree, and there's so little time. It feels like there's so little time and so little energy to unpack what's going on with us.
Yes.
And so yes, it has been a continual unfolding, and it's not something that's unique to me or to you. It's something that we all have the ability to experience.
Absolutely. So our beginning again retreat begins August 3rd, and you can actually find out more information, including looking at our agenda, by going to careyearsacademy.com/retreat. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up by talking about our future work. We are not done with our conversation or our work around systemic racism during a personal caregiving experience. And I also should mention that Dannelle is very gracious about the question that I asked her initially almost a year and a half ago. I know I did use the term systemic racism. So Dannelle has really been helping me with the language to use, which I really appreciate. It's been very helpful to me. So there's this education on that is from all of us that we're all learning, which has really been an amazing benefit to all of this. So here's what we're doing next. We have a special chat on Twitter, July 7th. Dannelle will be a part of that chat, as will our June 19th panelists, Dr. Rochester and Catherine Floyd. And that's at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And the hashtag to follow is Caregiving While Black. So that's on Twitter. Join us, share your experiences, and then join us also to learn. That's what's been so helpful, I think, for so many of us, is to learn, to really understand so that we can be better, we can be part of the change. In addition, as part of our Certified Caregiving Consultant Training Program, Dannelle has created a special class within one of our modules to help our consultants really help clients who might be experiencing systemic racism. So that's going to be part of our training program going forward. Very excited about that. And then Dannelle, who uncovers things behind the smallest rock, found an opportunity for us. So we have our fingers crossed. We did submit a grant. Dannelle submitted a grant on Monday that we hope will be the beginning for us. We're going to look at other opportunities, and if you're watching, please let us know if you have any opportunities for us. So what we want to do is use our certified caregiving consultants who are also instructors in our training program for family caregivers. Train family caregivers of color. The correct language to use is BIPOC. Am I saying that correctly, Dannelle?
That is, I learned that from a panel of all African Americans that I attended a couple of weeks ago. So you know, until someone informs me otherwise. I mean, like you said, we're all learning, right? We're learning as we go.
Right. And you know, I have been following what media companies have been doing as they talk about the issues. So for instance, New York Times announced yesterday that Black people will be a capitalized B, which I think is helpful to know as well. Okay, so we want instructors to empower family caregivers of color so that they feel more comfortable and confident providing care for their family members. But that's not just it. We want those family caregivers then who've been through our training program to become educators in their own community, to train their neighbors on how to care for a family member. We want those individuals who've graduated from this family caregiver training program to also lead support groups in their communities. And we want them to be reimbursed as leaders in their communities and trainers in their communities. Let's face it, an economic situation caregiving is an economic situation. Worldview, family view. We are impacted as families by the economies of a caregiving experience, but our local economies are impacted as well. And so if we empower one family caregiver to change her personal experience, to change his personal experience, and then to have some economic stability coming into the family, we hope that that can change a community. So
Absolutely.
Why is this important to you, Dannelle?
Because it is giving back, supporting empowerment for individual family caregivers, and for the communities where we live. And so we know that as family caregivers, we're experts in how to care for our caree. And so it's honoring that expertise. It's also about leadership and being educated by others who understand your experience and can help share how one might have solved an issue in a healthcare encounter. So for example, it may be that you are working with a healthcare provider who doesn't recognize the severity of a wound on Black skin, or does not recognize the pain level of your caree due to racial bias. It may not recognize that you as a family caregiver need support, need help. And so support for how to address that so that we can be better advocates for ourselves as well as for our caree.
Yeah, I love that. And when we train family caregivers within a community to be leaders within their community, they know best who is a family caregiver at risk, meaning that they are really stressed out, really overwhelmed, and really need some kind of support intervention. That is what's so powerful about this too. So then there's this army, for lack of a better word, of really engaged community leaders who really do serve family caregivers and make a difference in their neighborhoods. So we would love to take this everywhere. So if you have any opportunities for us or ideas of who we can connect with, please go to caregiversacademy.com. You'll find my contact information, and Dannelle and I would love to talk to you. Okay, any last words, Dannelle?
No, thank you so much for your continuing collaboration and support, and I look forward to what's next.
Yes, we're very excited. We are driven. We are determined.
Yes.
We're not going to stop until we find and make the difference. Okay, thanks everybody for watching. I'm Denise Brown. Take care. Bye-bye.